This is the Tour d'Elegance at Pebble Beach. So at 9 o'clock, all of these magnificent cars will start to fire their engines up, and they're going to go on an 80-mile-long drive through the hills and along the coastline, and everybody's a little bit highly strung because they got 80-mile drive that's not necessarily a very friendly drive in parts. I know. Push, push, push. I am pushing. Last year, I was pushing the car up hills and screaming on the way down hills.
This doesn't get any better than this.
We'll actually wave at you as you go by, because I don't have that stress this year, because I can just enjoy everybody else's stress. Might be we'll find something that we haven't seen before, something that'll get the juices flowing. I love walking through this because this is the culmination of quite often years and years of work and experience and research. Hello, how are you?
I'm good.
Ran into an old friend here. By old friend, I mean a car that I haven't seen for years, and that was a Paige. I'm absolutely delighted to see this here because I've owned two Pages, a 22 and a 23. How long have you had it?
About 25 to 30 years, I don't know.
Is that right? So she's an old family friend now.
She's an old family friend.
One of the two Pages I had was a 666, which is sort of an odd number for a car. Early 20s, it was a yellow speedabout. It was just beautiful. It wasn't as nice as this one.
Well, the car is a 1921 Paige Daytona, boat-tail speedster. They only made this back model about 2 years, 21, 22. And they raced at Daytona Beach, Florida, and they set a U.S. stock car land speed record of 102 miles an hour in the flying mile. So they marketed it as a Daytona, and then they discontinued it and moved on. It's kind of a home restoration, if you will, but you know, we wanted to make it as nice as we could, but with no intention of coming to Pebble Beach. We were just fortunate to be here. So.
What is interesting about this Page is it's got a running board seat so you could get extra people in the car, usually the children, because the seat was fairly small. But they got to sit on the outside of the car.
This thing folds down. And then when we're ready to take off, we slide it in and lock it, and then she crawls up here. I won't let her ride on it all the way to Big Sur on it. You know, there's a little danger of the cliffs there.
So a few months ago, Dave was at a tractor auction and came across this 1953 Alice Chalmers U.S. Navy Aircraft Tug and had to buy it. These tugs were used on aircraft carriers to pull the planes around, take them to the elevator, take them under deck, and then they were used to bring them back out so that they could get ready to be catapulted off. So David has a World War II BT-13 trainer. Because he's an Air Force nut, he had to have this to tow around his BT with.
This is an Alice Chalmers tug, and they didn't make very many.
Okay.
And this tug was built in the early 50s and served on a U.S. aircraft carrier 1953, so probably during the Korean War.
Cool.
Yeah. This yellow is under the green, and the yellow is a more common color on an aircraft carrier.
Right.
So imagine when she was serving on the carrier, she was this, you know. So what I would like to do is paint the engine the Alice Chalmers orange, which is appropriate.
Okay.
And then paint the rest of it this yellow.
Yellow.
So if you can match that yellow.
Yeah. Okay, Dave.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
So Dave really wanted to get this painted, and he went away, so we thought it'd be a nice surprise when he gets back. We've done a lot of research to find out what the chevrons would be like on the front and back, so we've done some measurements, found that they would probably be about 3.5 inches.
Okay.
We want to get it as close as possible to what it would have looked like in the 50s. It looks pretty amazing. Now we just have to do some final work on it.
I'm in my Italian period right now. I've developed this thing in the last couple of years for Italian cars, and I'm walking up the line and I saw this. Oh, the Fiat that's here. This Fiat 1400. I knew there was something special about it. I'd never seen the body style before.
This is a Fiat 1400 that was built for the Turin Auto Show. It's a Michelodi design.
Yeah. It turns out it was a one-off show car. The detail on it, there's engraving on the chrome. The bodywork is really dramatic. The color scheme in a very, very pale yellow with a navy blue is just arresting, and it runs through the interior and the whole bit.
The car was shown in Villa Borghese, and there was a Hollywood starlet was attending that show. So this is the young lady who bought the car from Alfredo Vignali and paid $5,000 for it and imported it into the States. She showed it in Oakland, California, and it was on the cover of Motor Trend magazine. And there she is on the cover of and somehow the car got into Hollywood, and it ended up in the movie The Racers. And Kirk Douglas got in this car in the movie and drove it off. After that, it went missing for about 50 years. And we found the car in LA about 5 years ago.
And it looked just like this.
No. Didn't look anything like this.
None. And this is the original colors?
Original color scheme. Yeah, we found these colors hidden underneath the car.
Isn't that fun?
Yes.
When you
feel like a detective.
It's not a big car, it's not a contender for best in show, but boy, oh boy, it's one of the nicer cars here, in my opinion. And it has an amazing history.
What a great history.
The wheel weights on these things, it takes 3 men and a boy to lift them. So we need to get it all back together so that it's ready to roll.
You know what, we're lined up perfect there, but I think this whole thing here is moved a little bit.
Towing one of these heavy planes, this is why this thing has to be so heavy. Without the weights on it, you could have wheel slip.
Oh boy.
There's a lot of weight on this thing anyway, but they have to be put back on.
Workout for the morning.
Working on this tugger, I did a couple things to get it ready. I did minor tune-up on it, axle seals on the rear differential, they were leaking.
Fire her up.
Ready? It won't start if it's dead. I have to boost it.
We're having trouble starting it because the battery is really weak.
Brand new battery, and she's no good.
So Greg put the battery charger on.
Power's on. So, let's see what we got. I wonder if he's getting too much fuel.
The battery cable lead touched the chassis of the tugger.
Unplug her.
If this happened on the aircraft carrier, we'd probably get a little bit of a discharge. We'd be thrown in the brig for a while.
Smoke leaked out of the battery.
I'm glad Dave wasn't here to see it either, because we'd probably be in the same situation.
Here it is.
It is one of the most dramatic bodies that I've seen on a car.
It handles maybe a 3 out of 10.
It's like a 49 Ford rammed into an Austin Minor. So I ran into Peter Larson. He's an old friend. I see him every year at Pebble Beach, and he's one of the world's leading experts on French coach work.
It has hardly any ornamentation along the sides. I'm here because I'm a car nut, and I have been a car nut all my life. I was asked some years ago to judge at this event, and it's been fantastic. If you really are into cars, the Monterey Car Week is one thing you have to do at least one time in your life.
So Peter Larson, in a rather untypical fashion, he's just waxing enthusiastic about this one car.
Here it is.
He leads us through the crowds, and honest to God, there is this jewel sitting amongst jewels. And it is one of the most dramatic bodies that I've seen on a post-war car.
This is a 1949 Talbot Lago. The body is by Figoni and Falaschi, and they built 32 of these cars, all with different bodies. What is special about this car? Everything. Notice the oval window opening, which is signature Figoni.
Yeah.
I mean, from bumper to bumper, this car is handcrafted. It is unique. There's nothing like it. It is a work of art. Figoni pulled the rear fender here, the fender line, all the way up into the roof. And I think this is the only car in the world that has that. It's a one-off. There is only this one car. It redefines the word special. It has a Cyclops headlight, which gives the car a very aggressive look. And then it has these little chrome baguettes, and that's because the first owner of the car manufactured zippers.
As zippers go, that's a nice zipper.
František, can you open the hood? The engine is a wonderful, powerful 4.5-liter inline-6 that was designed during the war with 200 horsepower. This car will move. Everything has been done so that this car right now, at this moment, is just like it was when it was shown at the Paris Salon in 1950.
There's cars that have what I call the glow. And when you walk down this line, there's a lot of cars that have that glow. But this one shines a little brighter than many of them, that's for sure.
There's nothing easy. Looks pretty. Huh?
I'm working on this tugger. I'm having trouble starting it because the battery is really weak.
At least it fired, so we know it's gonna run. We just need a little bit more voltage that doesn't short when the thing starts rattling.
It is actually a new battery, so we're gonna have to exchange it for another one.
We'll get that battery charged up a little bit more. I'm gonna go order another one.
And now I just want to take it for a couple laps around the parking lot and make sure everything is okay for Dave. It handles maybe a 3 out of 10. There is no suspension on it, so you get bounced around a lot. Other than that, for a tugger, I think it's awesome.
Oh, look at this. Stutz. Isn't she lovely?
Love.
Beautiful.
This is what it's all about.
Isn't that lovely, eh?
Ah.
Oh, look at that. Oh, what a
You know.
Jan, look at this coming up. Did you see that?
They ended up with one of the very first supercharged engines. The only real problem with the car is it has no brakes.
Laguna Seca is where you come to see absolutely insane owners driving around the track going as fast as they can.
Wow, eh? Look at these.
So you guys would have nothing to do with these cars, I assume?
No.
Yeah.
We're just window dressing.
Yeah. You know, when you're driving a period piece that was built before or during or just after the First World War, it just doesn't feel right to be dressed in modern garb. So I absolutely understand and applaud guys who are driving this stuff dressed the way the original drivers were. It just sort of makes sense, and it looks a hell of a lot cooler, doesn't it? This is beautiful. What is it?
This is a 1912 Packard.
Oh, 12.
This is the oldest Packard race car in existence.
Oh, is that right?
It was found in Argentina in the 50s, and a fellow brought it to Southern California and spent the next 50 years going to swap meets trying to find all the missing parts that weren't on a race car, and never did get the car put together.
Of course.
And we bought the car and brought it to our shop and spent the next few years restoring it. And we restored it back as it was as a race car.
I noticed that the tires are getting pretty worn.
Yes. And we do slide them around the corners a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that. Out of a group of, what, 10 cars here, you know, you always have favorites, but there's one that just stopped me dead. And this is the Sturtevant.
The engine is actually made by the Sturtevant Aircraft Company in 1916 in Boston. They were the world's largest manufacturer of industrial fans. They built this and started building airplanes, but the war ended before they could get a big contract.
Oh, there you go.
And so he ended up with
Look
these
at
leftover
that.
engines, and they're supercharged in 1916, one of the very first supercharged engines.
And somebody went, oh, hey, look at all these spare aircraft engines weren't being used, went, must be a good race car engine because it's light and powerful, and so it ended up being put in a race car.
And this made 220 horsepower, 550 cubic inch V8, all aluminum. And a fellow by the name of Romano figured out that these engines were light and powerful for their weight, and he did a really good job. The weight distribution is 50-50. He used aircraft fabric on the rear to cut the weight down.
The back of the car is done like an old biplane wing. It's made out of Irish linen that's aircraft doped and seamed, and structurally, that makes it pretty strong and also makes it incredibly light. So very, very clever car.
It's amazing. I've never seen one of these.
Well, this is it. This is the only one.
Only one, yeah.
Is she fun to drive?
Yeah, it is. You know, it handles very well. It's well balanced. The only real problem with the car is it has no brakes.
Well,
and
like I told you, I make my cars to go, not stop.
Yeah.
What a beautiful car.
Oh, it's got torque. This thing must do like 60 miles an hour.
Pebble Beach, ever since its inception, has been all about testosterone. It's car shows and car guys, and who can spend the most money on a car to impress the other car guys. And we walk around the corner this morning, and here's a whole car show full of car girls.
I want to thank everyone for your support for coming out. We have 36 cars here, all women owned.
It's a show full of cars, Ferraris, antiques, owned by women. Fantastic. I'm in.
We've got a beautiful Lincoln Mark 8 where Lori has built her own engine, so check that out. We also have this amazing race car and the race woman standing next to it.
The women are inspiring, and they race.
Our motto is empowering women and inspiring girls. First of all, we're getting women to have the courage to actually come to a car show and be in their own car show and, you know, have their husbands as arm candy for a change, as opposed to them.
Yes.
You lost out there.
Why don't we start with this 458 Spider that is wrapped in satin black. Let's go take a look at another one.
Okay.
When it showed up this morning, I mean, every woman in the car show, as we were staging our cars, we all were aghast when this car showed. A 1954 Kaiser Darren. Just gorgeous detailing.
And the doors.
The side slide door.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely gorgeous, right?
Unbelievable.
And the interior is just stunning.
Well, I inherited it in 1977. My dad bought it in the early 60s. My dad was a used car dealer, so he was very familiar with cars and a car nut. It was in restoration for 7 years, and then when it came out of restoration, it kind of just was put into the garage. A very close friend of mine thought it would be great if we brought the car over here and showed it as an all-women group.
Kaiser Darren's a really interesting car. I mean, the Kaiser Company built ships during the Second World War. After that huge war effort, the Kaiser Company devoted its efforts to building cars.
You don't see very many of them on the road. Gets a lot of attention, so if you need to get somewhere in a hurry, you don't take this car because you get stopped at every stop sign, people wanting to ask questions about it. But this is a driver. We do drive it.
Right next to the Kaiser is another car that I really like. They're sort of the forgotten brand, but it's a Rambler. You know, I wanted a simple, unusual car that doesn't cost $1 million to go out driving around in. That would be one of my top choices.
We have a leadership academy for second and third year engineering girls where we teach them leadership skills in hopes of fast-tracking them into leadership positions in the automotive industry.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm really glad to see that these cars are being used and displayed by women. It's sort of refreshing. There's an awful lot of women car enthusiasts out there, and they really don't get their due most of the time.
If you love it, show it.
Yeah,
And so
that's great. I love
we're
that.
here loving our cars and showing that
them.
we love it.
I heard this thing out here running.
She runs great, Dave. Take for a couple laps.
You know, all in all, it's exactly what I wanted. Geez, I don't want to sit here. I don't want to wreck Mel's paint. Oh, it's got torque. Nice smooth clutching, too.
I'm glad he's happy. He can play around with it, towing his planes.
Is that second?
Yeah.
This thing must do like 60 miles an
this
hour.
thing flies.
That's ridiculous, especially on an aircraft carrier. Yeah, he was doing 60 when he went off the end. Dig me out of the barn.